Hey there, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well today. So today I will be going over a lesson for the CTA, and I'm going to look at our online course schedule here. So today is Thursday, October 22nd. So what I'm doing today is continuing the CTA reading work and drafting the CTA. And that is your homework over the weekend as well, to continue drafting the thesis and outline for essay number 3 or the CTA. Now, if you have not already, I would definitely go ahead and do Tuesday's assignments as well if you have not already. But hopefully everyone was able to read, annotate, and analyze the topic clusters, whatever topic cluster they chose. And hopefully everyone has already drafted their thesis. And also, if you have not already, I would recommend reading chapter 40 and 50 in our Norton Field Guide textbook. And reading response number 5 will be due tonight by midnight on our discussion boards. And also over the weekend, what I would be working on, if you have not already, would be the RA reflection letter. So that's why I only assigned to continue drafting over the weekend. So that is for this week's homework. So what I'm going to be doing today is going over the lesson called Continue is the CTA reading work and drafting the CTA. And you can find the link of the lesson right in our online course schedule. And I can also show you where it can be found on Blackboard. So here's our Blackboard page. So on the left side, if you see the Lessons tab, you can go right under Lessons. And the lesson that I will be going over in this video is the CTA reading work and drafting. And I also have a handout on MLA's citation style and quotations that I will be going over next Tuesday. But for today, I'm just going to be concentrating on the CTA reading work and continue drafting. And what I did within this lesson is I drafted a sort of example of how to go from the invention or pre-writing into drafting. So of course, what we're doing for the third paper is finding similarities and differences between the texts. Now keep in mind you can choose from 3 topics, and the 3 topics you can choose from are abortion, COVID-19, and also social media. And you have to choose one of those topics. And whatever topic you choose, you have to utilize all 3 sources. So what we're doing is finding similarities and differences between the texts or the sources. Now, this can be done several different ways through pre-writing, such as making lists comparing the different sources, a graphic organizer like a Venn diagram or a chart. So this is basically a lot of review. Considering the previous lessons from class, it's important to compare each source in terms of the main argument, the supporting details, and the author's usage of logos, ethos, and pathos. Now you can also check out this link, and I included a link from UNC Writing Center about how to structure and also pre-writing methods that you can use for the paper. This is all review from the textbook. So if you need further examples, you are free to take a look at this. This is a very helpful handout on comparing and contrasting. Just to sort of give you a review. So the ways that you can organize your paper, you can organize this paper by a couple different ways. And this is discussed in this week's homework for our discussion board. So you can organize your paper subject by subject or point by point. So just as a sort of review of the reading strategies and outlines that we have already learned from the textbook and the discussion boards. So the Norton Field Guide offers several strategies on pre-writing, drafting, and organizing outlines. Reviewing these chapters may be helpful to starting the CTA. And here is a link from UNC Writing Center also about academic reading strategies that might come in handy while looking at these sources. Now, I am aware that we have a couple of videos to choose from as well under the topic clusters. And the best way to go about that is to watch the video and taking notes while you watch the video. So these are just some academic reading strategies. Again, this is basically a review from the textbook and a few different ways that you can annotate while reading. And you can also read chapter 29 in our textbook. And what that chapter does is it talks about generating ideas and text, and it also includes information about outlines. So what we're doing is finding similarities. So what you want to be considering when looking at the sources on your topic cluster is finding similarities. Now this could come in several different forms, such as are the claims or reasons similar? Are there similar values being talked about? Are they concerned about the same things? Do they have similar audiences? Do they use similar experts or sources? Is there something that they both or all mention, or are the dates or publication venues similar? Now, in terms of finding differences between the sources, what you want to consider is are the claims or reasons different? Are the audiences different? Do you think there are different values represented? Are the dates or publication venues dissimilar? Do some authors include enough evidence and do others not, and how so? Are some authors' tones, style, or word choice different than others? Do some authors offer solutions while others may not? Do some authors give enough reasons while others do not? Do some authors focus on one aspect of the issue and others focus on different ones? And you also want to consider their ethos or the credibility of each author. Do some authors have higher ethos than others, and how so? Do you think some authors are more informed on the issue than others, and are they focused on different things? So this is the invention slide for drafting, and hopefully we are to the point of generating topic sentences and hopefully supporting details and quotation sandwiches for your body paragraphs. That is basically where most people are, where most students are kind of sitting at in terms of drafting the paper right now. So hopefully everyone is to that point, or at least close to that. So anyway, what I did is I looked at the sources on abortion, and basically what I did here is I kind of sat down and did the assignment myself, or at least I did a mini version of it, just to sort of give everyone an idea of what it might look like. So what I did is I took the sources from the topic cluster of abortion, and I just chose that topic because I had been working on those sources with my students in class, so I kind of just used those. Now keep in mind for the sources of abortion, the first source is a YouTube video. The second source is actually a medical study, journal, article. And the third one here is a news article from NPR. So those were the sources that I was looking at while sort of sitting down and trying this out myself. Now keep in mind, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Whatever opinion you might have, I will of course respect your perspective and your opinion, whatever opinion you might have. So keep in mind, these are my own observations within this lesson today. So these were just the observations that I made, how I felt about the subject. Keep in mind, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and of course, it is our job as good citizens to sort of respect whatever perspective someone might have on these major societal issues. So basically, what I did is I compared and contrast the sources under the cluster topic of abortion. So the differences that I said for the video My Abortion Story, is told in a narrative style driven personal account of a woman experiencing an abortion and the reasons behind it. Therefore, the pathos or emotional appeal is greater than the other two sources. Just because that is the nature of a personal narrative, it tends to be more emotional and more personal in nature. So that's why I said that video probably has the most pathos out of the three sources. Now, you might disagree, and of course, you're perfectly welcome to disagree. Again, these are just my own observations, my own personal observations, and my own personal perspective after reading these sources and viewing these sources. So what I said about the article by Jones, and that is the medical study. The article by Jones is a medical study and utilizes statistics to illustrate that women with prior abortions had them performed because they were not financially stable enough and did not have reliable medical care. This is the way that the medical study utilizes logos or scientific facts to build the case. And that tends to very much be the nature of medical studies. They tend to be full of logos, statistics, the scientific method. So that's pretty natural for a medical study to be full of logos or logical appeal. So lastly, this is the article by McCammon, which is from the article from NPR. So lastly, the article by McCammon was informative and was a news article. So McCammon's article discussed conflicts between Planned Parenthood, abortion clinics, and the closure of abortion clinics. Now, what I said in terms of similarities is that all three sources sort of utilize a claim that women that have little access to education or reliable medical care often leans towards getting an abortion than other women. They may also not be able to take care of a child on their own because of financial issues or few opportunities at higher education. Now, in terms of similarities, I also said the video My Abortion Story from BBC News relies quite a bit on being relatable and on emotional appeal. And I said the article by McCammon is a bit more on the neutral side. However, there still is an emotional appeal component to be considering when looking at those two sources. And I said all three sources are concerned about similar values and concerns, such as a woman being able to receive reliable medical care, a woman being able to support a child on their own, and perhaps a link to financial instability and few opportunities at higher education. So basically, this was what I came up with. I kind of sat down and wrote this in about 45 minutes. So what I did is I went from the invention of a sample thesis to a sort of example of a thesis statement and intro. So what I did is I went from pre-writing, so this is considered pre-writing, and then I sat down and wrote the intro, or what my thesis statement might look like. So keep in mind, this is just an example. Your paper might be different. It might be structured differently. That's really okay. But the most important part is that you have enough support for your reasons and also enough for support for your main argument. So that is really my main concern. And you also want to make sure you talk about all three sources within the introduction as well. So your introduction might be a little bit longer than normal than in a typical paper, and that's okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this. So in the video My Abortion Story, published by BBC News, a woman tells a personal story about why she received an abortion and what it was like. Now, then I transition into a way of talking about the other sources. So then I go on to say, on the other hand, the article Clinic Hearing Could Decide Fate of Abortion in Missouri tells the reader about conflicts arising between organizations like Planned Parenthood and the Missouri Health Department caused an abortion clinic to be shut down. Lastly, the article Which Abortion Patients Have Had a Prior Abortion? Findings from the 2014 U.S. Abortion Patient Survey as a scientific study that deduce educational, work, and financial factors may influence the choice of women that receive an abortion and those that don't. So then I have my thesis statement. I have come to the conclusion that I agree with the video My Abortion Story and its main message that women have a right to choose what happens to their bodies because it affects not only their bodies but also their lives. The medical study's conclusions influenced my decision on this topic because the main findings are that women with few opportunities and a decent education and low financial stability are not easily able to support a child on their own because of these difficulties and other influencing factors. Lastly, the article Clinic Hearing Could Decide Fate of Abortion in Missouri and the video My Abortion Story made me arrive at this argument because after hearing a woman's own personal account, it has led me to believe that a lot of negative social stigma and shame surrounds abortion and is not often talked about enough, even though the topic itself is very impactful on society itself. Now, these are the topic clusters that you can choose from. So this is the topic cluster on abortion, and you have to use all three sources for whatever topic you choose. Now, for the topic cluster of COVID-19, the first article is an article from the New York Times. The second source is actually a video or a TED Talk, and the third video is another article from NPR. And for the topic cluster of social media, the first source is actually another TED Talk or a video. The second source is an article from the New York Times. And the third source here is another journal article. So anyway, that is it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, or you are free to stop in during my office hours. I have office hours tomorrow on Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend. Thank you.